when they do their study, and that's what we asked them to do, and we sat down with them, because again, our job is to represent the wishes of the public as well, and balance what their needs are with our needs. And originally, we were happy with the idea of renovating the high school, had no problem with that.
That was our initial
in the
submission.
original 5-year plan. Had they supplied us enough money, we wouldn't be here talking about the high school. It had just been done, and we've been well on our way. They began to raise issue of costs, and this just was not, it was cost prohibitive to them to do the rehab the way that we thought the rehab should happen. Then the conflicts ensue. Over time, we decided that we want smaller schools anyway, smaller high schools. And when that happened, that made the facility of the Trenton High smaller anyway. So we said that the final analysis give us 1,200 or 1,500 new school. If renovation achieves that to the level that we want, then that's a cost. If it doesn't and a new school does that, then there's a cost. And then there's impacts to each one. So what we do is get that information, share it with everybody, and get their input again on all the information that has been developed so that we can make the right decision.
What's troubling me, and I think most of us, it sounds like you've already made these decisions.
As I said again, we've taken an action to initiate them doing a study. We didn't have to ask if we wanted to just build a new school. We just said build a new school.
I know, we've been given
we didn't
those
say
figures.
that.
Last year we were
say
given
that
the
if you're able to
options.
rehab the building to the level that we wanted rehab, make it smaller, and it's state of the art like it was when it was done when it was first built, have no problem with that. At the end of the day, we want a state of the art school. If you can do it another way, figure out another strategy, we're willing to hear those things because they know what the community wants.
I've attended these meetings.
Once that study is completed, they'll be here to present their findings, and then they'll say, A, B, which one do you want? Or that we're not going to fund this and that we'll fund that. Then that'll tell us what they'll be willing to do.
Mr. Mosley and Calvin Thomas and some other people were very good at presenting the options of the various proposals. We've seen those, and we also are pretty aware of the numbers that went along with those. What it sounds like to me is that somebody's, first off, who made a decision that we're going to make these schools smaller and that we're going to have 3 high schools rather than 1? I mean, that, from my last understanding, that determination hadn't been made.
Remember, the whole purpose of the Abbott program is to build schools that the educational leaders say that will move our district into improving its services to students.
Okay.
Smaller class sizes is part of the whole Abbott legislation.
I understand.
Whether it's elementary or other places. Because of the problems that we've been informed about how big the high school was, the idea of making them smaller and have them located in certain areas of the city has resonated through the public. They've come to the meetings and they've supported those things. So administration responded to those concerns about smaller high schools, specialty high schools in a sense, whether schools for performing arts or technical schools, and that initiated those kind of ideas. So that automatically would make Trenton High, if we were to maintain it where it's at, it will be smallerly configured in some form. So that was going to happen anyway. So the only issue now is, can we rehab that school and make it state-of-the-art? Do we need to knock it down and put a new structure there? The study will help us determine what that should be.
As a school board meeting attendee, it was by no means certain that all of the public supported the notion of 3 high schools. It was controversial, to be fair in the way it was approached, because the idea was put forward that you could grow up in the city of Trenton and go into school and never leave North Trenton or West Trenton or South Trenton, and thereby live in your own little enclave in the city. And there is a downside to that. Without ever coming in contact with other communities throughout the city, the value of a central high school and its concept was to bring various communities together so that we could go out in a greater world with exposure to each other. And I don't remember that idea being discarded. I remember people talking about the various placing high schools in 3 different areas, but I heard no determination made that, yes, that's
well,
definitely.
Well, that's
meeting.
part of the reconfiguration plan of our long range.
Yeah, excuse me, I was at every meeting. And the idea evolved over time. No one at one meeting made a decision. It evolved over time. And it evolved because of conversations like these where people were coming up and principals coming up and other folks coming up and making suggestions and recommendations. Studies was done to justify. We have a K-8 program. We used to have a middle high school program. That got changed. Why? Because of input and feedback from the public. That process continued. I was there when these kind of discussions went on. We didn't make those decisions. The central administration, through its educational institutions, made those educational decisions, and then the designs of the schools was an output of those decision making. So it was an educational criteria that was supported by from the municipal government people and who sat around this table as well, who participated in that process, and will continue to do it. And I think that's why we've been so successful at our program. And I'm so happy that we did do those things, because when other school districts around the state was fumbling and bumbling and stumbling around, not doing the research, not having these conversations, they don't have the schools built that we do. Well, and because of that, I think that it's a credit to the kind of openness of this process, and the fact that we're not here just to hear from one side of the room or this side of the room or just one person's opinion, but to listen for all the voices and make the best decision that we can. And we will continue to do that. But there's some questions on this side of the room.
One is, we heard the figure thrown around $150 million for a new high school, a renovated high school. My concerns is that they're saying this is the last money for a while, and it's $4 billion.
Yeah.
I hope we put a timeline to this, that we don't end up losing all this money.
Right.
Because my concern is now we're going back and forth and back and forth. What timeline are we working with, that we don't mess around and lose this $150 million or whatever it's going to cost for a new high school going back and forth? Is a timeline in place? Because the way we're going right now, we'll lose this other $150 million or whatever it costs for a high school. So it's a timeline or something put in place, because they're trying to force us to make up our mind which way we're going to go with this school. So is the timeline on us, or is the timeline on them? And how much time we got to make our decision? Because we can keep going back and forth all night on this.
Well, the first timeline starts on July 28th, and pending the board's decision at that meeting. That's the initiating process from that point. And it's my understanding, based on conversations with the state, that once we put a resolution in their hand that clearly notes what it is that we do want, that will initiate this process,
So is,
which then entails us that we are now working towards the 125, and we're now going to start the design of this project at that point.
was it any way the district going to let us which way they're leaning rather than waiting? Because if we're going to go into the 28th, if the district made the decision one way or the other, I think it's for us to put it out there now and don't even prolong this process. Because my concern is the money ain't going to be there that long.
Right.
The money's going to be gone one way or the
Well,
other.
the administration is presenting it, as I mentioned, and the board will make a decision one way or another on the 28th.
Okay.
Question? Dan?
I'm still a little confused about the decision-making process. You're saying, recently, I guess the SDA has said, we're not going to renovate this building. Forget about it, it's too expensive, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're leaning in that direction. We say there's still interest in seeing what those costs are. Before we make a decision, we want to make sure we know what those costs are, if they renovate it the way that we want the building renovated.
Nothing has been etched in stone at this point.
So, okay.
The first thing, again, is to get the resolution so that this process can be initiated. They refuse to move until they know that the district is looking to make something happen with the building itself. Right now, we have a wing for $24 million. And we know that we're not going to put a wing on the building. So if we continue to sit here and wait for this wing and then whatever comes next, then we will lose this money. And it's been clearly stated and made it clear, I should say. It's been made clear that if we don't make a decision and get this resolution to them, then we will lose this money very shortly from now.
Well, the
you
wing
have
was
to
the
pass-
fallback.
Wait, excuse me. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Go ahead.
So you have to pass a resolution to build a new school to get the SDA to study the renovation.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how that works.
That's what they tell us. Remember, we're partners with them, so I'm not going to tell my partner what he or she should want from me.
And
They
again-
say
yes.
you should vote for something, And if I vote for that, then you're going to take an action, that's what we'll do.
And it's required by
It may
law.
not make a lot of sense, but we'll do it. We may not agree with